his third attempt, 325 kilograms.
Go, Johnny! Okay, a lot of people have been asking me how my hamstring's holding up now, and honestly, it's pretty fine. I'm not as quick as I once was back in my day. I can move around. Hit you with a little shake and bake here. Yeah, not too bad. Pull up. Kobe. Rest in peace.
What's up, guys? It's John Candido of Candido Training HQ. As you can tell by the title, my road to a 1,700 pound total did not go so well. We had a bit of a detour. So we'll start with the squat. Now, my opener moved very well. This was with 567 pounds.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
And warming up, it actually did feel extremely heavy with 485. It felt like 600 pounds because I water cutted to a greater extent than I normally do, which I'll talk about later in this video. But anyways, I knew something was up, but it moved well enough to go up to 600 pounds. So on my second attempt with 600 pounds, it did not move very well.
Drive, yep. Nice.
This was the moment where I realized, okay, this is not going to go exactly as planned, which made sense to me. So I adjusted my third attempt to just going up 5 kilos. And this was a 5 kilo PR with 611 pounds. This actually went very well. This went better than I expected. So I'd say I could see potentially having 617 pounds there on that day. But I did go into this planning for 628. So it was disappointing, but I was proud that I was able to make the adjustment. You know, it takes a lot of maturity when you're locked in on a certain number to adjust down. But a 5 kilo PR is something I'll take at the end of the day. So moving on to bench, I actually had the exact opposite issue. My strength was very good, and mentally I did not make the mature decision. My first attempt moved very well, and then my second attempt tied my PR, and the pause duration was also longer than at the Arnold with the same weight.
Drive, yep.
And the judges.
So going into the third attempt, I could have taken a 5 kilo PR, and instead I went for a 7.5 kilo PR. This proved to be a big mistake. I missed it. I missed it just on strength, off the chest. Like I said, the pauses were a little bit longer, and I am a fast bencher. I don't grind very well. So ultimately, it made sense. My strength was really good on this day. It felt very, even 391, it felt very light at the top. I just should have taken 385 pounds. I got greedy, flat out. I was even imagining totaling beyond 1,700, and that was the problem. The moment you consider a number above your initial goal, you often get nothing. That's how powerlifting works. So going into deadlifts, instead of needing to pull 705 pounds, now I needed to deadlift 716 pounds to total 1,700. The opener felt pretty good, but you can never really tell anything with my sumo until we get to that second attempt. Now, second attempt, it moved, a little bit slow and weird off the floor like it always does for me since I overdipped my hips, but it felt really good. It actually felt subjectively almost like I could have moved it faster if I really wanted to. That's how it felt. So I was extremely confident going into my third attempt. I really thought I was going to pull 716 pounds with, it felt almost like I already knew I was going to pull 716 pounds. So even going into the bathroom, I remember having that wave where like it almost hit me that I am one lift away from my lifetime goal. And it almost left me awestruck to some extent. And I think that was a big mistake, is that every time I perform my best, I always have more of a negative mindset of don't screw this up, don't make a mistake. Not that if I hit this, this is amazing. But anyways, going into this lift, I was completely committed to grinding as long as I needed to. I knew it wasn't going to come off the floor very quickly. And it's really tough because on video, it looks like I had no chance. And then I hurt my hamstring. Like it looked like obviously it wasn't going to move, right? But mentally, it felt good. It's a really weird thing to say because it felt like similar to my deadlift in 2019 Raw Nationals, where my shins were a little bit forward, my hips were way too low, then my shins move a little bit back, the bar drifts a little bit back, my hips kick up, then it stalls, then my shoulders move forward, then it comes up. And if you actually see my deadlift here, right as my shoulders move forward, that was the moment my hamstring got injured. So, I mean, maybe it was just about to come up. I don't know. It does look unlikely. I'll accept that L, but I honestly can say I wish it just came up a little bit more and then I hurt my hamstring. That may sound nuts, but that is a bigger regret to me than the actual hamstring injury itself. Honestly, like, I know it sounds very weird. But anyways, to get to how my hamstring injury is feeling and all of that, first of all, in the moment, it felt like fabric tearing.
All just because I ripped my pants.
And then it felt like everything, went from there. Like my foot slipped or my heel dropped from that tear. However, looking back at the side angle, it does look like my heel moves concurrently with my muscle moving. Sure, let's put it on a loop and burn it into my memory. Thank God it doesn't look like I had any type of tendon rupture where the muscle actually rolls up. Now in the moment, I have people implying that's what happened. It kind of felt like that could have been what happened. So there's a lot of catastrophizing in the moment, but luckily I am able to stay pretty objective despite pain. That's something that I think I've developed quite well now from being in powerlifting long enough and just seeing how a lot of times it's not as bad as other people around you think. Because even one person even asked like if I tore my Achilles because of how my heel movement looked. The best news was the day after I did not have bruising and I could not feel through palpitation any specific detachment from any tendon. What Ted did wasn't right, but what he said wasn't wrong either. My hamstring's been feeling kind of tight lately. It almost feels like there's a bundling up near the tendon. Wait a second. Oh my God, if this is something permanent, I swear. Oh, it's just like that on the other leg. Guess that's just how hamstring meat feels. So that was really the most important thing, because if you do have a tendon rupture, of course, that's when it can be career altering. But it felt like in the middle of the muscle belly is where I did strain my hamstring, and it's certainly a very real muscular injury. So anyways, that was the meet. That was pretty disappointing. That was definitely the biggest difference from meet prep to meet performance that I've ever had in my life. I never performed this poorly with a prep this was honestly the best prep I've ever had in my life. I mean, I deadlifted 660 pounds, 300 kilograms for a potential 5 rep max. I hit 4 at least RP 9 or better. Granted, it was with straps and with pound plates, but that's how I prepare for meets. Like when I deadlifted 694 at Raw Nationals, I hit 645 off pound plates, an Olympic weightlifting bar instead of a high power bar, and straps. So again, it is one where you just would, or at least from my perspective, I certainly expected that I'd be able to hit more. And it just did not go my way.
You're going to learn about shoulda, woulda, coulda.
The most important thing after the injury was active recovery. So I did not even use ice. I did not even take ibuprofen. I immediately got to active recovery, avoided anything passive, and moved around even that night. Did a slight amount of hip hinging to very small extents, like 5 degrees. And then the next day, also just working on whatever degree of hip hinge and squat depth I can reach. And I did that really for the first 4 days. I would say I had extremely short range of motion.
Extreme hip hinge.
Good enough. I also flexed at the knee while laying on my back. I could not do the same if I was laying on my stomach. 6 days in, I was finally able to squat to depth while still not being able to flex the knee to a full range of motion. Then, about a week and a half in, that's when I was at full capacity.
Holy shit!
Just getting enough movement helps avoid building up scar tissue or losing range of motion, perhaps more permanently, which can happen if you do just completely shut things down and rest passively. A 2017 study in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at exactly this. They compared a group that took 2 days off versus a group that took 9 days off. That difference alone added up to a 21-day gap into return to play. So, since this was my worst meet relative to my expectations, I want to tell you what I learned from this meet, and hopefully some of you guys can take bits and pieces that may be applicable to you. So first of all, in this meet, this was the first time I ever used a calibrated scale. This is something that Sean Noriega's gotten on me about a lot, and it definitely was a worthwhile purchase. So I'll include a link in the description to the calibrated scale that I got that was completely accurate to the meet scale, and I got it about a week and 6 days out, and I weighed 4.5 pounds heavier than my at-home scale. So at the at-home scale, I was 186 when I squatted 625 pounds. Realistically, I was 190.5, which ultimately makes sense. I was making some great progress, so yeah, kind of adds up. And I don't really regret it either, though, because I wanted to water cut a little bit more aggressively. So I basically went from 189, 22.6, and that really just was not worth it. But it was worth it to try it at least at some point. It just ended so poorly that it's very clear that it's not going to be a strategy I'm going to use moving forward. And ultimately, I actually make very good progress at 184 or 185 because I'm not pushing the lean body mass edge of the 83 kilogram class like some other guys are. Or simply put, I'm not that jacked. Now, second point is when losing water weight, one strategy I used was going into a hot tub to sweat it off. And passive means of losing water weight is actually more fatiguing. So this is something that I'm going to link a ResearchGate article on because I first heard this from Sean Noriega.
Active sweating is less taxing on you in terms of performance than passive sweating. Number 1, spitting. Number 2, active sweating. Number 3, passive sweating in a dry sauna. Number 4, passive sweating in like a steam sauna or something like that. And then number 5, if you have no other option, hot bath. So that's my ranking, guys. This is something that most people don't really know.
It sounds very unintuitive, right? So I initially actually did not even believe Sean, honestly. Like I was looking up ready for it to kind of be bro science. No disrespect to Sean, he's my guy, but it turned out to be true. So that was a really interesting thing that I think did play a big role in just how zapped I was. And then thirdly, I also did not use electrolytes when I should have. I just used Gatorade kind of casually mixed with water, and that was it. And I do think that had a really strong role in the ultimate hamstring injury by the end of the meet. So you live and you learn. Even, I'm 20 plus meets into it, I still learn about some basic things too. Fourth point is I'm buying Notorious deadlift slippers. This is going to replace my Sabo deadlift shoes. I'll include a link in the description. Hopefully this will give me better traction. And like I said, I really have to assume that slipping was at least very seriously could have been the cause of this hamstring injury first, and then my hamstring got hurt. I'm not sure on that, but it's best to just assume if it is something within my control that I can change. So I'm going to do that, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Also, if you are the owner of Notorious deadlift slippers and you're seeing this and you could see that you could give me a discount code so my followers could get some money off, you know what I'm saying? I'm open for business. The fifth point is I'm going to link some hamstring rehab research. It's very fascinating. It's both on a single study, but also mentions some other points in other studies as well in the summary. And basically, it's what you would think. It's very similar to the back rehab, where it downplays the importance of MRIs. It was not predictive of recovery time. You have to follow the symptoms as opposed to following a predetermined timeline. And then there were some other interesting things, that palpitation and discomfort that comes with that was predictive of re-injury, and also the isometric strength between the two hamstrings, the healthy one and the injured one, and the deficit between those, that was also predictive, the isometric strength. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind moving forward. Of course, Nordic hamstring curls also has been proven to be effective in multiple studies. And that's basically it. And then just active recovery. It's really what you would think would be true, and you just have to actually do it. Also, something that was interesting, that was probably the least exciting thing to read, is that the rate of re-injury was up to 27% in this group. Now, they were soccer players at least, but it does seem like re-injury is going to be a very serious concern after I successfully recover from this. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind. It's going to lead into my final point, is that I'm going to pull hook grip moving forward. I'm 100% committed. Because when I pull with a mixed grip, it does cause the bar to move to my left side first when I grind, then it swings back around. And that's been consistent across every single grinder I have. That's due to the fact that I have to dig really deep in my hands, as I've mentioned before. Otherwise, I just cannot hold on to the bar. So that comes at a leverage cost and at a balance cost. And even though I come from more of the barbell medicine way of thinking that technique is not predictive of injury, your form is most likely not going to cause Snap City, it's more fatigue management, all that. I do think when it's this apparent, and when I also have had an individual history where whenever I've deadlifted with mixed grip with sumo, I have felt it a little bit more on that left hamstring as far as soreness goes, generally, like very, very consistently. So I'm going to switch to hook grip so I can continue to use straps in the same way I do and pull more symmetrically. And I think it will give me both an efficiency advantage and ultimately make me less likely to hurt my hamstring again. Also, I do think it will help to just fully commit to this, where even if I miss on grip on my next meet, I'm about to total 1700 and it's just a stupid hook grip, can't even hold on to even 694, something like that, I'm totally fine with it. I'll still pull hook grip. I think that level of commitment will probably actually help my hook grip performance from the first meet, just knowing I'm not fickle with it. I feel very prepared going into this rehab already. I've made good progress on that, and I'm going to sign up for a meet in 6 months. I think a little bit of suffering in between time helps sharpen the mind. In 6 months from now, I will total 1700. So make sure to subscribe to follow that journey. Like the video, support the channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so today, this is the day of uploading, speaking straight to you, right now. I just edited this. But I am doing the belt squat with the narrow stance, heels elevated, and pushing against the bar so I can rock it back as much as possible and have the load be in front of me. And link in the description if you're interested in that belt squat. I'm going to do sets of 15 to 30. It's tough. As far as my overarching theme to this rehab, there's actually some new evidence in 2020. It's on around 17 subjects, so it needs a bigger sample size. But what's called is it's the do what you can method. It's really fascinating. So what you do is you focus on doing what you can. No self-pity. We are going to build these bad boys up. If we can't focus on the hamstrings, let's get the quads up. Okay, final update. We're using the basketball standard again. And honestly, I'm feeling so much better. I think I can graze the net. And I'm just going to try to dunk. It's on a bent rim. You guys know I've been able to dunk before. So honestly, these legs are feeling pretty springy. Look, the hamstring's feeling good. All right, let's go.